Investors, have you wondered which startup could become a unicorn? Founders, are you waiting for the J curve moment? In venture capital, everyone is chasing the same thing. First, breakout growth for sure, and returns, which is massive one. But in deep tech, predicting the winners is a lot harder. Long timelines, complex technology, slow enterprise adoption. So if you're building, investing, or just obsessed with deep tech innovation, you are in the right place. Hi everyone, this is Minsel, and you're listening to Deep Tech Fortune Teller. Okay, so here's the idea behind this show. On this podcast, I analyze Korean deep tech startups using both venture capital logic and Saju. This is a traditional Korean fortune reading system. Some people think Saju is insightful, but other people think it's complete nonsense. But personally, I think it's another framework for recognizing certain type of patterns. And honestly, venture capital isn't that different. VCs are also trying to predict the future. The difference is that they track on pitch decks instead of burst chart. So this podcast is basically kind of experiment. What would be happen when deep tech investing meets Korean fortune telling? So quick background on me. I worked in venture capital, which is corporate venture capital in abbreviation we called CVC, which basically means investing in startups from inside a large corporation. And because the companies I worked with were operating in industries like what else? Autonomous driving, manufacturing, hydrogen, mobility, and any other kind of industrial technologies. Thanks to that, I became more interested in deep tech. Now, CVC is a little different from traditional venture capital. You're not chasing financial returns only. You are also have to think strategy in each industries. For example, where is the industry going? What technologies will actually matter in 5 or 10 years? Your company should partner with startups or not, acquire them, or simply invest early. And that means you end up seeing both sides. First, corporate side. Um, I can think how large companies think, how enterprise clients make decisions, why big corporations move slowly. And second, startup side, how founders build, adapt, fundraise, how they survive. Which also means I have spent a lot of times watching founders, investors, and corporate teams struggle to understand each other. And sometimes those conflicts stall projects because they keep pulling in different directions. Because honestly, they can't fully understand their counterparts. And I am pretty sure they see the world completely different way. Well, see, think about it. Most investors come from finance, and most operators come from industry for sure. I've lived close to both sides. So over time, I've been developed a slightly different way of looking at companies, not just as financial instruments, but as living systems with personalities, with instincts, and patterns of behaviors. Part two. So, why did I start this podcast? Because the deep tech works very different from regular startups, and I'd like to contribute this industry in my way. What is deep tech then? For example, AI, robotics, autonomous driving, aerospace, advanced material, and so on. These sort of things are we call deep tech. And usually deep tech startups spend years just to prove the science works. Before revenue, before customers, sometimes before even a product. It means that deep tech requires a certain types of capital, which is patient capital. And that creates a problem. Because even when Korean deep tech startups are generally world class, great engineers with no work life balance bullshit, ambitious founders, real technology, many of them eventually need global capital to scale. Obviously, Korean VC money is not enough. And plus, there are not enough global investors who is paying attention to Korean deep tech startups. The world knows K-pop now. It knows K-beauty maybe now. Korean deep tech startups? Not really. So why I made this podcast? I want more people outside Korea to discover what's happening here. I'm not a media company. I'm just one person with a microphone and a bunch of little of background. If this podcast helps even a few investors discover startups they otherwise would missed, that's meaningful to me. Okay, now for the strange part. Why bring fortune telling into venture capital world? To be honest, venture capital involves a huge amount of uncertainty already. No matter how much due diligence you do, no matter how you'd never really get 100% for sure on their conviction, right? You can build financial models. You can call all the industry experts. You can reference check through your VC networks. And still, the future of most startup remains unpredictable, especially in deep tech. Um, the deeper the analysis you get, the more you realize startup investing is all about the people as a team, market timing, and price adaptability. And that's actually what interested me about Saju. Because Saju isn't really about predict the future, like fixed future, not like magic. It's more about understanding the tendency. What kind of environments help someone grow? What kind of decisions create friction? Where does momentum naturally build? And which part of characters make things easier? At some point, I realized those are basically the same question that investors ask founders. At some point, I realized those are basically the same questions that investors ask founders and startups. Which is why I started this experiment with applying to deep tech startups. Not as absolute truths, not as investment advice, more like an additional lens for looking at companies' life cycle. And honestly, investors are already making 10-year bets on uncertain outcomes anyway. If then, this doesn't feel that irrational. So here's how the show works. Every episode has two parts. Part 1, the startup breakdown. I would pick one Korean deep tech startup and break down the company's profile, such as what problems it's solving right now, where it sits in the market, and why I think it matters. No PR spin, just my actual take. Then part 2, the Saju reading part. For people, Saju uses your birthday to map out the patterns and tendencies with your whole life. For a company, I'm going to use the founding date. Well, it's the moment the company entered the world, so basically it burns right now, right? And from there, I look at questions like what's this company naturally good at? Is this the right time to scale aggressively? Um, or slow down? What kind of market direction fits well on this company? And when does the next major shift happen? I'm not trying to predict the future with absolute certainty. This is more like a character analysis using a 3,000-year-old framework. So if you're interested in deep tech startup in Korea, venture capital, startup psychology, which is actually not, or just curious about Saju from a slightly less mystical angle, you will probably enjoy this show. Next episode, we are going to look at our first company. I'm not revealing which one yet, but I will say the chart is interesting. Anyway, let's see how accurate any of this turns out to be. This is Minsel, and this is Deep Tech Fortune Teller. See you next week.